Hello dear students, welcome back to another session of history. Today we are on lesson number 7, Tribes, Nomads and Settled Communities. You saw in chapter 2, 3 and 4 how kingdoms rose and fell. Even as this was happening, new arts, crafts and productions activities flourished in towns and villages. Over the centuries, important political, social and economic developments had taken place. But social change was not the same everywhere because the different kinds of societies evolved differently. It is important to understand how and why this happened. In large part of the subcontinent, society were already divided according to the rules of Varna. These rules, as prescribed by the Brahmins, were accepted by the rulers of large kingdoms. The difference between the high and low and between the rich and the poor increased. Under the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals, this hierarchy between social classes grew further. Beyond big cities, tribal societies. There were, however, other kinds of societies as well. Many societies in the subcontinent did not follow the same social rules and rituals prescribed by the Brahmins, nor were they divided into numerous unequal classes. Such societies are often called tribes. Members of each tribe were united by kingship bonds. Many tribes obtained their livelihood from agriculture. Others were hunter-gatherers or herders. Most often, they combined these activities to make full use of the natural resources of the area in which they lived. Some tribes were nomadic and moved from place to another. A tribal group controlled land and pastures jointly and divided these amongst households according to their own rules. Many large tribes thrived in different parts of the subcontinent. They usually lived in forests, hills, deserts and places difficult to reach. Sometimes they clash with the more powerful caste-based societies. In various ways, the tribes retained their freedom and preserved their separate culture. But the caste-based and tribal societies also depended on each other for their diverse needs. This relationship of conflict and dependency gradually caused both societies to change. Now, tribal societies were absolutely different from those which existed in big cities. They did not follow the social rules and rituals prescribed by the Brahmins because they divided the societies into numerous unequal classes. Who divided the Brahmins? These societies were known as tribes. There were a unique bond of kinship among the members of each tribe. The main sources of livelihood was agriculture. However, hunter-gatherers or herders were also there. Some tribes were nomadic and kept on moving from one place to another. Many large tribes lived in forests, hills, deserts and places difficult to reach. Now, who were tribal peoples? Contemporary historians and travelers give very scanty information about tribes. A few exceptions apart, tribal people did not keep written records, but they preserved rich customs and oral traditions. These were passed down to each new generation. Present-day historians have started using such oral traditions to write tribal histories. Tribal people were found in almost every region of the subcontinent. The area and influence of a tribe varied at different points of time. Some powerful tribe controlled large territories. In Punjab, the Kokhar tribe was very influential during the 13th and 14th century. Later, the Gakharas became more important. Their chief, Kamal Khan Gakhara, was made a noble by Emperor Akbar. In Multan and Sindh, the Langhas and Arghans dominated extensive region before they were subdued by the Mughals. The Balochists were another large and powerful tribe in the northwest. They were divided into many smaller clans. Now, what are clan? A clan is a group of families or household claiming descent from a common ancestor. Tribal organization is often based on kinship or clan loyalties, means clan is a group of families. They were divided into many smaller clans. The clans were divided into small families. In the western Himalaya lived the shepherd tribe of Gadis. The distant northeastern part of the subcontinent too was entirely dominated by tribes, the Nagas, Ahoms and many others. In many areas of present-day Bihar and Jharkhand, Chiro chiefdoms had emerged by the 12th century. Raja Man Singh, Akbar's famous general, attacked and defeated the Chiras in 1591. A large amount of booty was taken from them, but they were not entirely subdued. Under Aurangzeb, Mughal forces captured many Chiro fortresses and subjected the tribe. The Mundas and Santals were among the other important tribes that lived in this region and also in Orissa and Bengal. So who were tribal people? In Punjab, the Kokhara tribe were very influential during the 13th and the 14th centuries. Later, the Gakharas became most important. In Multan and Sindh, the Langas and Arghans dominated extensive region. Their leader Kamal Khan Gakhar was made a Mansabdar. Mansabdar means a noble by the Emperor Akbar. Then the Balochists were found in the northwest. The shepherd tribes of Gadis lived in western Himalayas. The northeastern part of the subcontinent was dominated by the Nagas, Ahoms and many others. Then the Mundas and Santals were important tribes found in Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal. The Kolis beard. These are the tribes these are the tribal people in the Himalayas, also in the northeastern part of India. The Maharashtra Highland and Karnataka were home to Kolis, Beards and numerous others. Kolis also lived in many areas of Gujarat. Further south, there were large tribal populations of Koraghas, Vetras, Maravars and many others. So the Kolis, Beards and many other tribes were found in Maharashtra, Karnataka and Gujarat. The large tribe of Bhils were spread across western and central India. By the late 16th century, many of them had become settled agriculturists and some even zamindars. Many Bhil clans, nevertheless, remained hunter-gatherers. The Gonds were found in great numbers across the present-day states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. So the Bhils were spread across western and central India. The Gonds lived in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Now, nomads and mobile people lived. Nomadic pastoralists moved over long distance while with their family animals. They lived on milk and other pastoral products. They also exchanged wool, ghee, etc. with settled agriculturists for grain, cloth, utensils and other products. In figure 2, Bhils hunting deer by night. See in figure 2. Then in figure 3, a chain of mobile traders connected India to the outside world. Here you see nuts being gathered and loaded on the backs of the camels. Central Asian traders brought such goods to India and the Banjaras and other traders carried these to local markets. They brought and sold these goods as they moved from one place to another, transporting them on their animals. The Banjaras were the most important trader nomads. Their caravan was called Tanda. Sultan Alauddin Khalji used the Banjaras to transport grains to the city markets. Emperor Jahangir wrote in his memoirs, that the Banjaras carried grain on their bullocks from different areas and sold it in towns. They transported food grain for the Mughal army during military campaign. With a large army, there could be 1 lakh bullocks carrying grains. So, nomadic pastoralists lived on milk and other pastoral products. The Banjaras were the most important trader. Nomads. Sultan Alauddin Khalji used them for transporting grain to the city markets. So, the Banjaras were the one who used to sell in the local markets the grains, the nuts. Many pastoral tribes reared and sold animals such as cattle and horses to the prosperous people. Different castes of paddlers also traveled from village to village. They made and sold wares such as ropes, reeds, straw matting, and coarse sacks. Sometimes mendicants acted as wandering merchants. There were castes of entertainers who performed in different towns and villages for their livelihood. Now, changing society, new castes and hierarchies. As the economy and the needs of society grew, people with new skill were required. Smaller castes or jatis emerged within varnas. For example, new castes appeared amongst the Brahmins. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste-based society and given the status of jatis. Specialized artisans, smiths, carpenters, and masons were also recognized as separate jatis by the Brahmins. Jatis, rather than varna, became the basis for organizing society. So, the smaller caste or jatis emerged with the growth of the society. The smiths, the carpenters, and masons were recognized as separate jatis. Amongst the Kshatriyas, new Rajput clans became powerful by the 11th and 12th centuries. They belonged to different lineages such as Hunas, Chandalas, Chalukyas, and others. Some of these too had been tribes earlier. Many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agricultural area. Here, a developed society were emerging, and rulers used their wealth to create powerful states. Now, among the Kshatriyas, new Rajput clans became powerful by the 11th and 12th centuries. They belonged to different lineages such as the Hunas, the Chandalas, Chalukyas. Some of these had been tribes earlier, and many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. The rise of Rajput clans to the positions of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. Gradually, with the support of the Brahmins, many tribes became part of the caste system, but only the leading tribal families could join the ruling caste. A large majority joined the lower jatis of caste society. On the other hand, many dominant tribes of Punjab, Sindh, and the northwest frontier had adopted Islam quite early. They continued to reject the caste system, the unequal social order prescribed by the orthodox Hinduism was not widely accepted in these areas. The emergence of states is closely related to social change amongst tribal people. Two examples of this important part of our society are described below. So now the rise of Rajput clans to the positions of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. But the tribal people, the Rajputs, were supported by the Brahmins, and only the leading tribal families could join the ruling class. And a large majority joined the lower jatis or the caste society. And the dominant tribes of Punjab, Sindh, and northwest frontier has adopted the Islam. Then they continued till today. They continued to reject the caste system. because for them it is very unfair. Now let's have a closer look on the emergence of states. The Gonds. The Gonds lived in a vast forested region called Gondwana, or a country inhabited by Gonds. They practiced shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation means trees and bushes in a forest area are first cut and burnt. The crop is sown in the ashes. When this land loses its fertility, another plot of land is cleared and planted in the same way. The large Gond tribe was further divided into many smaller clans. Each clan has its own Raja or Rai. About the time that the power of the Delhi Sultans were declining, a few large Gond kingdoms were beginning to dominate the smaller Gond chiefs. The Akbarnama, a history of Akbar's region, mentions a Gond kingdom or Garha Katanga that had 70,000 villages. Now the Gond lived in the vast forested regions known as the Gondwana. They practiced shifting cultivation. Then the large Gond tribes was further divided into many smaller clans. Now Garha Katanga, a rich state, was mentioned in Akbar Nama. The administrative system of these kingdoms was becoming centralized. The kingdom was divided into Ghars. Each Ghar was controlled by a particular Gond clan. This was further divided into units of 84 villages called Chaurasi. The Chaurasi was subdivided into Barhots, which were made up of 12 villages each. The emergence of large states changed the nature of Gond society. Their basically equal society gradually got divided into unequal social classes. Brahmins received land grants from the Gond Rajas and became more influential. The Gond's chiefs now wished to be recognized as Rajputs. So Amandas, the Gond Raja of Garha Katanga, assumed the title of Sangram Shah. His son Dalpat married Princess Durgavati, the daughter of Salbahan, the Chandal Rajput Raja of Mahoba. So now Amandas, the Gond Raja of Garha Katanga, assumed the title of Sangram Shah, and he married Rani Durgavati. He married whom? Durgavati, princess of Dalpat. And then Rani Durgavati was capable and started ruling on behalf of her 5-year-old son. After Dalpat, however, died early, Rani Durgavati was capable and started ruling on behalf of her 5-year-old son, Bir Narayan. Under her, the kingdom became even more existent in 1565. The Mughal forces under Ashraf Khan attacked Garha Katanga. A strong resistance was put up by Rani Durgavati. She was defeated and preferred to die rather than surrender. Her son too died fighting soon after. So Rani Durgavati was very capable and started ruling on behalf of her 5-year-old son, Bir Naren. After his husband Dalpat's death, she started ruling. Now Garha Katanga was a rich state. It earned much wealth by trapping and exporting wild elephants to other kingdoms. When the Mughals defeated the Gonds, they captured a huge booty of precious coins and elephants. They annexed part of the kingdom and granted the rest to Chandra Shah, the uncle of Bir Naren. Despite the fall of Garha Katanga, the Gond kingdom survived for some time. However, they became much weaker and later struggled unsuccessfully against the stronger Banjaras and Marathas, the Ahoms. The Ahoms migrated to the Brahmaputra valley from present-day Myanmar in the 13th century. They created a new state while suppressing the older political system of the Buyans. During the 16th century, they annexed the kingdoms of the Chotias and of Kochhajo and subjected many other tribes. The Ahoms built a large state, and for this they used firearms as early as the 1530s. By the 1660s, they could even make high quality gunpowder and cannons. So the Ahoms migrated to the Brahmaputra Valley from present-day Myanmar in the 13th century. They created a new state by suppressing the older political system of the Buyas, which were the landlords. Then they annexed the kingdoms of Chhattisgarh and Kochhajo and subjected many other tribes. However, the Ahom faced many invasions from the southwest. In 1662, the Mughals under Mir Jumla attacked the Ahom kingdom. Despite their brave defense, the Ahoms were defeated. But direct Mughal control over the region could not last long. The Ahom state depended upon forced labor. Those forced to work for the state were called pikes. A census of the population was taken. Each village had to send a number of pikes by rotation. People from heavily populated area were shifted to less populated places. Ahom clans were thus broken up. By the first half of the 17th century, the administrations became quite centralized. Almost all adult males served in the army during war. At other times, they were engaged in building dams, irrigation system, and other public works. The Ahoms also introduced new methods of rice cultivation. Ahom society was divided into clans or khels. There were very few castes of artisans, so artisans in the Ahom areas came from the adjoining kingdoms. A khel often controlled several villages. The peasants were given land by his village community. Even the king could not take it away without the community's consent. Originally, the Ahoms worshipped their own tribal gods. During the first half of the 17th century, however, the influence of Brahman increased. Temples and Brahmans were granted land by the king. In the region of Sip Singh, Hinduism became the predominant religion. But the Ahom kings did not completely give up their traditional beliefs after adopting Hinduism. Ahom society was very sophisticated. Poets and scholars were given land grants. Theatre was encouraged. Important works of Sanskrit were translated into the local language. Historical works known as Buranjis were also written, first in the Ahom language and then in Assamese. Now, in conclusion, considerable social changes took place in the subcontinent during the period we have been examining. Varna-based society and tribal people constantly interacted with each other. This interaction caused both kinds of societies to adapt and change. There were many different tribes and they took up diverse livelihood. Over a period of time, many of them merged with caste-based society. Others, however, rejected both the caste system and orthodox Hinduism. Some tribes established extensive states with well-organized system of administration. Thus, they became politically powerful. This brought them into conflict with larger and more complex kingdoms and empires. So, the medieval period, we saw that a greater interaction between the caste-based society and the tribal groups. Some tribes established extensive states with a well-organized system of administrative and became politically powerful. So, who are the tribes? We learned they are the Kokhar, then the Gaghars, the Langas, Argans, then Balochists, Gadis, Nagas, Ahoms, then Chiru, Mundas, Santals, then Kolis, Birats, Korakhas, Banjaras, Maravars, Bhils, and the last is Gonds. Then places we saw Punjab, Multan, Sindh, then the northwest, Western Himalayan, Northeastern, Bihar and Jharkhand, Odisha and Bengal, Maharashtra and Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, then Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh. So this is the end of the chapter. Next time I will meet you with a new chapter. Till then, take care students, and thank you so much.